I'm Bonnie Squires. Welcome to Bonnie's Beat. I'm your host. We're coming to you from the studios of Radnor Studio 21 and Mainline Television in beautiful downtown Wayne. We broadcast in Lower Merion Township, Radnor Township, and we'd like to showcase people who are doing important things for the community, whether it's academia, charity, an important event, a political movement. And we've got two wonderful broads in the studio with us today. And I say broads with all respect. I used to call Bella Abzug a broad, okay? That's the caliber of person that we have with us today. We have Shira Goodman, who's the executive director of CeaseFirePA Pennsylvania, and Lynne Honickman, who is the president of the Honickman Foundation. You read about these wonderful people all the time. You see them on television. Welcome to the studio.
Thank you. It's a delight to be here.
Thanks, Bonnie.
Now, I'm going to hold this up. Show and tell. The Stand Together Challenge. Okay? Shira, you want to explain what that is and why you had a press conference in City Hall in Philadelphia recently?
I will. We're so excited. As everybody knows, just a few weeks ago, we had a terrible tragedy in Las Vegas, one of the worst mass shootings in American history. And we had a vigil outside City Hall a few days later with the Mayor Kenney and Governor Wolf and City Council President Darrell Clark and Josh Shapiro, the Attorney General, was there. And we said that night, thoughts and prayers and mourning are important, but they're not enough. We need action. And a few days later, Lynne Honickman called me and said, here's the action. The Honickman Foundation is making a $100,000 challenge grant to CeaseFirePA to raise our voices every day to get more Pennsylvanians fighting for common sense gun laws, to fight the NRA. We've got to stop the killing. And so that's what we announced in our press conference, and that's what we're excited to talk to you about.
Now, Lynne Honickman, how did you come up with the idea for a $100,000 challenge grant, which is probably the biggest grant that CeaseFirePA has ever gotten? Am I right?
Right. We do have one institutional funder, the Joyce Foundation, who has given us more than that, but that is a foundation that we applied to as a grant. We give reports to. This is the largest private foundation or private donation we've ever gotten.
I'm a board member. I wouldn't dare not. No, it's this was a very, very essential thing to do at an essential time. We have been fighting for sane gun laws for 15 years. I started Moms Against Illegal Guns a long time ago.
Long time ago.
Thinking that women would come out in the streets screaming and that would do it. Well, they didn't come running out in the streets. Some did. But women, I found, in particularly Democratic women in Philadelphia, weren't worried about it. And I was working inner city at the time, and I had kids. I had little kids, maybe that high. They were 9, they were 8, 9, 10. They were clutching one another, walking. And when I said, "What's the matter, honey? You have a stomach ache?" "Oh, no, Miss Lynn. When the bullets come, if we walk this way, they won't get us." Not if.
Ooh.
When.
Ooh.
So what happened in my head is, what's the matter with this story? And I wasn't getting further. We had gotten up to 8,000 people, including a lot of veterans that joined in with us. And we couldn't get past that number. And Ceasefire had organized and was up by 20, well up. And I thought I'd ask if we could merge my 8,000 with how many were already aboard, gave it a more substantial number. So I joined CeaseFirePA and never had to look back, because when Shira came aboard with her leadership, which has been unbelievable, she's never tired. She's never too tired to reach out. She is so knowledgeable. She can tell you anything you needed to know. I don't know how she keeps it all going, because she also has a beautiful life with husband and child. It's a very tough thing. We know it's become a huge health problem.
Every time you hear an elected official who's brave enough to go public and say, gun violence is a public health issue, I cheer. But there aren't that many who are brave enough to say that.
Well, it comes in many different, there are suicides, there are fights, there are all kinds of different health issues that you know, it just, the opioid, you know, problem. There's so many things that are triggering a kind of life in our city it's very dangerous.
Well, it's not just our city.
Right, it's all over,
But-
and even in rural areas.
We
and
know
suburban.
that, but that can't
Right.
be an excuse.
Right.
I can only deal with our state. Pennsylvania is our place to really
Absolutely.
do everything in our power. And if we could become a role model, great.
Right,
Because it can be done. We're just learning ourselves how and what.
Right, the problems we have in Philadelphia are replicated in Lower Merion, are replicated in Pittsburgh, in New York.
Radnor.
Nobody is immune from domestic violence, from suicide, from these random acts of violence. The bullets don't discriminate based on where you live, who you vote for, how much money you have. Nobody's safe until we're all safe.
You know, it's interesting because as you're talking, I'm replaying in my mind news clips from years ago where some wealthy, there was a separation, they were getting divorced, and the estranged husband waited in the driveway in Bryn Mawr across from a church, a big church, and shot and killed his wife in front of their teenage daughter. Years before that, there was a estranged husband, who waited for his wife, who was a preschool teacher at Lower Merion High School. He waited in the parking lot. He shot her. There was a church off Remington Road. It was a playground. An estranged husband came up and shot and killed the wife in front of all these kids and all these teachers or whatever. So, but Shira, let's find out a little bit about your background and how you came to be associated with CeaseFirePA. Are you an attorney? I forgot.
I am an attorney. I started out at Ballard's Bar,
Where did you go, first of all, where'd you go to high school?
Abington,
And where'd you go to college?
University of Michigan.
How'd you get to Michigan from Abington? What attracted you there?
Somebody from my high school had gone. Somebody from camp was applying. I applied, and when I went to visit, I loved it. And a lot of my high school was going to the University of Pennsylvania. My mom wanted me to go there, but I really
My
wanted to do
alma
something
mater.
different.
My alma
So
mater.
I
okay.
loved it. Go Blue. We're big fans.
And what did you major in?
I was a history major, and I did
Oh,
a
of
lot of
course.
English as well, a lot of literature courses, a lot of writing.
And then what made you decide to go to law school?
I had always planned to go to law school. I always wanted to be a lawyer. I wasn't sure exactly what I would do, what kind of law I would do, but that was always what I wanted to do.
And how long after you got your degree, where'd you go to law school, by the way?
I went to Yale.
A lot of kids that can't get into Temple go to Yale. Yes, I've heard about that, right.
You know, it's a very special place. It's a very small class. Some wonderful people. There's actually not grades at Yale Law School, so you have
Were
all
there
these-
a lot of women in your class?
Yeah. When I
Well,
was there.
that's a
Yeah.
change in the weather.
So I
Okay.
did work with a lot of the first women. You know, Judge Shapiro, I clerked for,
Oh,
the
Norma
first woman on
Shapiro,
the bench,
yes.
and Lila Roomberg, I worked with at Ballard, the first woman at Ballard. So I have worked with the Trailblazers, who really made it easier for us.
And how long after you got your law degree did you get your job?
At CeaseFire?
No. You said you worked at Ballard's Bar?
Well, I clerked for 2 years. I clerked for Judge Shapiro, and then I clerked for Judge Morton Greenberg on the Third Circuit. And so I was at Ballard for a summer in law school, and then I started there after my clerkships.
How long did you work at Ballard's Bar?
5 years.
And what kind of cases did they have you handling?
I was in the labor group, so I was actually doing negotiations on management side with unions. I was doing arbitration, some discrimination cases, and then a lot of trainings with employers on how to do personnel issues right, a lot of counseling and trainings.
And how did you get to CeaseFire Pennsylvania?
Well, I had to stop in between at Pennsylvanians for Modern Courts, which is another nonprofit. I worked with Lynne Marks, who I know
Lynne
you know.
Marks, right. She's terrific.
And Bobby Liebenberg actually got me to that
Oh,
job.
yes.
So a lot of our friends. And that was a nonprofit working for better courts in Pennsylvania. You know, working for a better judicial discipline system, a stronger jury system. And I did that for 10 years. And then I was ready to do something different, to lead. This job came open. I, in fact, was interviewing right around the time of the Aurora shooting and became even more motivated.
That was the movie theater in Colorado where it was a midnight viewing of
Batman.
Of the Batman movie. And a guy, I mean, it was like shooting fish in a barrel.
Yeah, he shot 70 people.
Oh, my God.
Remarkably, only 12 died. So we just marked the 5th anniversary of that shooting. I know Lonnie and Sandy Phillips, who lost their daughter Jessie, and that I just saw them in Washington last week. And so I did get the job, and I've been doing it for just almost exactly 5 years now.
And Shira's capabilities, you know, all that her skill sets that she brought with her helped develop us further, helped us find the right questions. And we know that, in a sense, we've achieved, but we still feel that we're at the beginning. But at least we're clear-eyed, I think.
Yeah,
at this point. And I think you helped us into that place through how she thinks, why she thinks.
We have to get the background of Lynne Honickman, who is one of the outstanding philanthropists in this whole region. I mean, I've known Lynne for I don't know how many decades now, because her name always comes up if you've got a deed that needs to be done to save humanity. The first name you call on is Lynne Honickman. We have to mention her husband, Harold. He's okay. He contributes too, right?
He has backed me. I couldn't exist and probably wouldn't be able to do all that I can do without his support. I have an amazing friend as well as a wonderful husband.
And if you read about Project Home, the Honickmans, the Art Museum, the Honickmans. I can't even begin to list all of the cultural arts organizations, charitable organizations that the Honickmans are supporting all at the same time. But I don't know your background, where you went to school, where you were raised.
I was 17 and a half when I married.
Your mother let you get married at 17?
I made the decision, and nobody could stop me, though I had gotten into a college that I wanted to go to. My husband was going into the Army, and he said, I want us to get married. And I said, okay. You know, all my learning, all that I have learned, the most part is, and I'm an avid reader, and I collect books, and, you know, I'm very into art. But it came from doing. I learned as I went along. And, you know, it's the people that I went to serve taught me.
Now,
you think you're going to fix things for other people. And it's each group I've ever worked with grew me.
You founded Moms Against Illegal Guns, which morphed into Moms Against Guns, right? What made you decide to create a nonprofit that was aimed at trying to reform the gun laws in the country and reduce gun violence? Did you have a personal experience, or?
I had people that I knew. There was many guns were just sitting in homes, and what I learned first, you know, what I did experience was a kid picking up a gun to look at and shooting it and killing a parent, and another killing a sibling, you know, a brother or a sister. Something was radically wrong. And I remember saying to my daughter, who was living in California, and happened to be there and had her first child when when there was a volatile confluence of fighting and energies. And she had bought a gun.
Oh.
And I said, you can't do that. She said, don't worry, Mom, I have it in I have it in the safe. And I said, what do you do when someone breaks in? Say, excuse me, but I have to open my safe and get my gun. I said, what is the point? And if you leave it out, your child can play with it as a toy without you ever realizing it. These kind of things that seem so silly and ridiculous are really happening day after day after day. And so part of me said, we've got to make this, we have to make this the evidence that we see. But law got mixed into this too. This is why this woman is the most incredible. She knows ahead of time what's happening and how to place it. When you have a government that shrugs at guns and that doesn't worry that there's no real answer and no real commitment to helping people help themselves, we've got a big problem.
Especially after Sandy Hook.
Which one was okay?
They're all, but Sandy Hook, when this teenager
when children
and killed 20 children and 4 teachers. First, he killed his mother.
Yep.
Who's the one who taught him to use guns.
Right.
But I grew up on a farm. We had guns, but we had rules. We had, there was, you knew just what not to do, and it was very clear and clear-cut. There were rules.
I loved riflery at camp. I had all kinds of awards for being a super marksman, but I would never have touched a revolver. I never would have touched a gun in my civilian life. You had assigned times when you had archery or you had riflery.
Right.
And I love both of them.
But we don't have, now, we don't have that same kind of instruction. You can buy a gun with no training. You can get a concealed carry license, no training required. You can buy training if you want, but it's voluntary. It's not mandatory because, the NRA doesn't want us to require anything. They don't want to burden this right in any way. All of our rights come with responsibilities and regulations. This is not a sacred special right that gets treated differently than the First Amendment. Like, Bonnie, you can't come on your show and start spewing lies about public officials. You'll get in all kinds of trouble. We can't start a new religion where we bring back child sacrifice.
Right.
We can't do that. That's not going to be protected. We have to register to vote, one of the most sacred rights.
Right.
So this right has to be treated with responsibilities, and there have to be regulations, and our safety and our right to be free from fear and to be safe has to be paramount.
I want to read what Lynne wrote in her $100,000 challenge grant to CeaseFire Pennsylvania. We don't hate guns. We hate what guns can do when not monitored by good and common sense law that respect and protect life. That's wonderful.
Well, that's true. And it's guns now, kids, especially the underserved areas where the gangs exist in order to watch over one another. This was imperative, and guns are part of that. And it begins very, very early, and it has a tremendous outcome. It's running rampant the way we see a disease run rampant if we don't have something to tick it off.
Right, we've somehow gotten to the point where we've said 93 people die every day, suicide, homicide, negligent shootings. That's okay. That's not okay.
It's not
That's
okay.
shameful. When did we decide that was the cost of living in America?
And when do we decide that it's okay for children to die left and right? When did we think that was okay? It's up to the us. I once went to my rabbi to ask, what do I do when people won't listen? How do I handle it? He said, is it important? I said, it's critical. He said, then you start screaming and you don't stop until you see a result. And it was, oh, I can do that.
The interesting thing is, and I don't like to demonize the National Rifle Association, but I never recovered from seeing, and Wayne LaPierre is at a chokehold on the executive director's position of the NRA for I don't know how many decades, because he also was on television on the Dick Cavett show years ago, with the night that Bobby Kennedy was assassinated.
Mm-hmm.
And he was defending everything to do with guns and fighting against any common sense gun law. Now, most Americans, according to all the surveys, are in favor of having background checks. But there are still people who fight that.
Right. I think here's the thing. I think you're right. Your average gun owner, your law-abiding gun owner, I don't think the NRA speaks for them anymore. I think the NRA leadership is beholden to gun manufacturers trying to up sales and up profits. I mean, they have, at their top numbers, they claim about 5 million members. There's probably 300 million guns in America. So they don't represent the majority, but they're very loud, and they're very well funded, and they're single focused. They're single issue
That's right.
and single minded.
They got
and
one
that's what
issue.
we have to fight. And that's what Lynne's grant is about. It's getting more people educated, getting them involved, making them feel confident that they can speak out and speak up.
Over and over and over again.
Who
It sinks in.
are some of your champions in the state legislature from Montgomery County, from Philadelphia?
Bob Casey.
Well,
Senator
right.
Bob
Senator
Casey.
Casey has really, since Sandy Hook, this man has really had a personal conversion.
He's got 5 daughters.
Well,
so
those 5 daughters
yes.
and his wife, Mrs. Casey, said to him that weekend, you've been wrong about this, Bob. And he really has turned around, and he's become a true champion in the Senate. But Madeline Dean, who's on my side of the river,
Yeah.
but Tim Briggs from over here,
Yeah.
Dalen Leach, of course,
Senator Dalen
Mary
Leach.
Jo Daley,
Mary Jo.
Vitale, and obviously Senator Williams.
There must be some Republicans that also
We have some
are
we
champions.
do. So John Taylor from Philadelphia has been with us.
Okay.
Jamie Santor from Delaware County is the prime sponsor of the background check bill, as is
Great.
Tom McGarrigle, Tom Killian, senators from Delaware County. The new rep, Alex Charlton, has been good in Delaware County. So they've been very good for us. And we're getting some people from Western PA, but we got to get some more.
And they all know who you two are because you march on them all the time.
Yes.
Right?
Yes, they know who we are.
But people don't realize how important it is for just a drop-in visit. And it doesn't matter if you meet with the elected official. Sometimes it's more important to meet with the staff person.
Well, I think that's a great point. So first of all, it's somebody's job at all these offices to write down who called and who wrote and what they said.
And who arrived.
And who
in
arrived.
person.
So going to the district office, you don't have to go all the way to Harrisburg. And you don't
Right.
need to have all the statistics and the numbers. You go and say, I care about this. I care about the background check bill. I care about gun violence. I'm worried about it. And this is why. And something coming from the heart like that, they're going to write it down. They're going to tell the senator or rep you were there. That's their job.
Yes.
And they need to hear you. And when they do something good, you need to thank them.
All
We need
the
to be
time.
there for them.
Absolutely. And I know that Senator Casey, he enjoys meeting with his constituents.
does.
He really does.
He
and
does.
he's
And he'll
he's
go anywhere,
caring
anytime to meet with them.
Yeah.
Really.
And he has offices all over the state, so does Senator Toomey. And he may
Right.
not want to hear from you as much, but Senator Toomey has claimed that he did put his name on the 2013 background check bill, Toomey Mansion.
Yeah.
Now, Senator Murphy from Newtown, Connecticut has introduced a new bill today, a stronger background check bill. And I think that's a really important bill, and people should tell Senator Toomey to sign on to it.
I
We
haven't.
have to, you know what? And I think it would be, again, that's something we have to show so the public knows that exists.
Right.
And that's part of what we can do.
Tell us what your website is or your Facebook address so people can, we'll put it on the screen,
Okay.
but just tell us what it is.
It's www.CeaseFirePA.org, so just our name, .org. We're on Twitter at CeaseFirePA, same for Instagram, and Facebook, it's Join CeaseFirePA.
Oh, are you cease-fired up? I love it.
Yeah, get CeaseFired
That's
up.
very clever.
Thanks.
I like the T-shirts too.
Yeah, we can send you one, Bonnie.
Okay.
I'll put one in the mail.
We contemplated coming in with them on.
But our goal is really, so like you said, some people get nervous about meeting their legislators, getting people comfortable writing letters to the editor, speaking to their neighbors, talking to their legislators. So we'll come out and do trainings, we'll give people fact sheets, we'll get people ready. We want people to take their own stand, however they're comfortable.
And now that you have Lynne Honickman on your board, who's the chair of your board of directors?
Well, right now it's Nancy Gordon. Soon, maybe by the time this is on the air, it will be Sean Kramer, who's also from this part of town. Nancy is finishing a 4-year term, and Sean Kramer from Lower Merion is becoming our new chair.
Very good people.
Terrific. Terrific. How many board members do you have?
We have about 18. We have 2 entities. We have a 501c3, which is an educational nonprofit, and a 501c4, which can do more lobbying and advocacy. And altogether, it's about 18 people.
Okay. And when you have a fundraiser, I mean, I've been to fundraisers at Nancy Gordon's house where it's standing room only. And she's got a big house, Nancy. She really does.
Well, our goal, again, is to educate people, to motivate them. We do need people to join, to get on our list, to take action.
Is there a membership fee?
There's not. And as Lynn
What do you
always
mean
says,
there's not a membership
there's
fee?
not a membership.
How can there not be a membership fee?
Because we want people to sign up. Some people can take our action. We want them to get our newsletter and our info alerts,
There
even if they can't give.
No amount too small. And anyone I've ever served for, I have said, if that line can't come in, I'm not writing the piece. I'm not going to be involved. And what I learned long, long ago from doing this for the museum was the amounts of people that, because that was a big, bold bottom line, $3 things came in, $5, that gave an extra $9,000.
That's a
People
big
have to
deal
feel
for a small
wanted, have to
nonprofit.
feel welcome to a project and
Right.
appreciated. Don't you? I do.
Yeah,
Don't
I mean,
you?
we don't
we
charge a
all-
membership because we want people who are living in cities who have lost their children to be as full-fledged members as a Lynne Honickman. Now, Lynne makes a lot of our work possible, and we can do a lot of those free trainings. And if people can give, we want them to. But if they can't, we want them to be part of our coalition.
I think my huge belief, and what's always motivated me from the time I was 10 and my parents couldn't figure out what was the matter with me, that I just wanted to serve and do things, is that I really believe we're here to take care of one another, not to be diverse, catching. Thank you. But to work together, not apart, not to pull apart, to come together, because together we're strong. We can achieve, and we can account for it, and we can feel the blessing that it is.
If anybody ever has the privilege of being in Dorothy Spite's company,
Dorothy's amazing.
she's this remarkable woman. Her son was shot dead over a parking space on their street. I mean, it just takes your breath away.
Dorothy is one of the survivors that we honored this year.
Yeah.
When we honored Josh Shapiro, we honored Dorothy, Mobita Johnson-Harrell, who lost her son in another stupid case of mistaken identity, and Cindy Warkow, whose husband committed suicide. Yeah. So we did honor 3 survivors this year. It's an honor and a privilege to stand alongside Dorothy, and we work with Mothers in Charge all the time.
Yeah, Dorothy Spite started a 501c3 called Mothers in Charge. And unfortunately, it's made up of women who've lost their children to gun violence. And it's, when you realize how pervasive the problem is, it's so shocking and stunning and surprising and depressing.
It is, and they are inspirational, and they are working to spare other families the pain that they know. And so, like I said, we're honored to work with them.
$100,000 challenge grant. How far along are you with your challenge grant? Because it was just announced recently.
Well, in the first couple days, we've already raised about $13,000.
That's very impressive.
Thank
It is
you.
for a day and a half. It's not
Yes.
even a couple of days. It's
Yeah.
a day and a half.
This newsletter, you're just seeing it hot on the presses. It just hit the mail, so we're doing well.
I was going to say, because I get your newsletter all the time. I didn't get
It's
this in
not-
the mail
it-
yet.
It should be in the
It should
mail.
be in the
It went in the mail
mail.
yesterday.
Okay.
But Governor Rendell pledged $1,000
Yeah.
yesterday at the podium, and I was
Ed
just
pledged?
I was
He
just
did.
called to pick up the check. So. Again, but we're also getting in donations, as Lynn said, $5, $18, and those are just as meaningful because they're going to add up, and they're going to be people who are fighting with us. And you know, you need money and you need hope, and this is helping us raise the hope because I'm tired, Bonnie, of people saying to me, "Well, nothing happened after Sandy Hook. Nothing's going to happen now." You know what? That's exactly what they want us to think, and I'm not going to stand for it.
Right.
And there's a bill that you mentioned that's in the legislature now, in our legislature in Harrisburg.
There's a background check bill in our legislature in Harrisburg. It's House Bill 1400 and Senate Bill 209 that would make sure that every gun in Pennsylvania gets a background check when it's sold.
Okay.
And there's a new background check bill that's being introduced into Congress that would do the same thing.
Are there people in Congress that are brave enough to sign off on it?
Well, we'll see.
We've seen cowardice run rampant in Washington these days.
Yeah, I
where
think
the brave ones are the ones
How many
who are
chil-
retiring.
But you know, when I spoke in Harrisburg, I asked out there, how many of your children have to die before you take a stand? How many? Ask yourselves. And this, we are going to continue to ask because it's insane.
I will say that Congress has not been the profile and courage we would have liked.
No.
But things are happening in state houses, and we are seeing some interesting partnerships start in Pennsylvania, and some Republicans and folks from the West who are stepping up to work with their partners in the East, and we're going to keep pushing up there. Harrisburg is a tough place to do this work too, but we're not giving up.
Tom Mert's a good guy.
Tom Mert called me this morning. He wants to
How
talk.
isn't that funny?
Tom Mert has some concerns.
He's a Republican.
Yep.
There are some brave guys on both sides of the aisle
Absolutely.
that will put their name on a bill that they know is for the protection and the good of society.
There are some people who will work across the aisle. I think Tom Mert is one of them.
Yeah.
You know, Jamie Santora. And
Jim
the-
Roebuck,
Yeah.
he's the dean.
And the Ds who
He's
will work with
Education
them,
Committee,
right?
yes. He'll work with
Jim's been great.
anybody.
Dom Costa out in Allegheny County, Madeline Dean will work with anybody. You know, she doesn't say it's, oh, I can't work with somebody not in my party.
Lynn knows Jim Roebuck from the Art Museum, from the Education
I do.
Committee.
And you know what? It's a pleasure because we've taken things from Project Home and certain projects, and so many. We now have a home for the veterans, and so many just didn't ever think they'd find anything happy in their life as
Right.
long as their life prevailed. Through art, through many healthy things, they've, you know, one young man said to me, if anyone told me I could ever have a happy day again, I'd think they were crazy. I'm happy today, Lynn. And it was, oh my God.
That's wonderful. I don't know how much time we have. Oh, we've got a few more minutes.
Okay.
Okay. If you had a magic wand, what would you do, Shira?
I would make sure that everybody is putting gun violence prevention on their lists when people are knocking on their doors, when they're at town halls, when they go to that voting booth, that this is one of their issues. I think, Bonnie, that we give people a pass because maybe they're good on something else we care about. Maybe they're good on education or health care or a foreign policy issue or reproductive rights. We say, they didn't sign on to that bill. It's okay. No passes, not even for
No
our
passes.
good friends
Okay.
anymore. This has to, you have to hold accountable. Why aren't you on this bill? Why aren't you pushing this? Why aren't you standing up? And I want people to feel comfortable. You know, I'm tired of hearing really smart, cool women say, I'm not so
But I
into
think-
politics, I
but
can't do it. I want them to do it.
I think you can say, but you're a smart, caring woman, and we need you.
Yeah.
We need you.
And
You
so
can't say no
We're going
now.
to teach people how to do it, and we'll come out anywhere, church, synagogue, community center, library, somebody's home. We'll teach you how to do it. We'll give you the tools to do it, and you can do it your way and feel comfortable doing it.
Our guests today have been Shira Goodman, the Executive Director of CeaseFirePA, and one of her favorite people in the world, one of my favorite people in the world, Lynne Honickman, President of the Honickman Foundation. And we hope everybody does something good for CeaseFirePA. And we'll see you next week.
Thanks, Bonnie.
Thank you, Bonnie.